Hi, I'm Andre Huey, and welcome to this special edition of Insights here on Television Caribbean and those watching on tvcplus.live and on our social media networks. Let me just say on behalf of all of us here at Television Caribbean, Happy New Year. Happy 2025. I pray that this year will be a prosperous year for you, a productive year, and a much better year than 2024 was. And we want to also thank you for your support during the course of 2024. Insights is the show that delves into the lives of our guests and give you their insights on life. We debuted on the 11th of December 2023 when TVC was launched. That was our first local show that we showed. And last year we had some really amazing guests on the program. And so in this special edition of Insights, we're going to share with you the top 3 interviews we had on Insights. Not to say that the others weren't the best or amongst the best. They were. It was a really hard choice to choose some of the best shows for this year. But we just are highlighting 3 interviews, 3 of our guests that we had on Insights in 2024 that were quite iconic. And we want to share them with you. We'll start with number 3, and this was an interview I did with Jamiela McPhail of Freedom FM. She's a journalist there at Freedom FM, and we had a very interesting conversation. This show was first aired on March 18th, 2024. We're going to share a segment with you. In fact, this interview, I know Jamie a long time before this interview, and believe it or not, I learned so much from her and about her in this interview. We're going to share some of that when it was first aired back in March 18th, 2024.
First of all, talk to us about your early years. Where were you born and how was your childhood?
Okay, so I was born in Cuba, and
I don't think a lot of people knew that.
no, I have not. I have never said that publicly.
Mhm.
So you're getting the exclusive. I was born in Cuba. My mother is Kititian. We left Cuba very early. So for those of you who feel like you could just come to me and speak Spanish, no, my Spanish is not that great. But we left Cuba pretty early and we went to Grenada. Everybody knows what happened in Grenada in the 80s, in 1983 to be exact.
Same year St. Kitts got independence.
Yes, yes. There was the invasion and we were there for that. And after that had ended and everything had settled, we eventually came to St. Kitts. So St. Kitts is my home, I don't want to say adopted home. St. Kitts is my home for all intents and purposes. So yeah, we came to St. Kitts. I attended the George Moody Stewart Primary School, Factory School, which was not where it is now. We actually used to have recreational activities where it is now. We had like plays and tennis and that kind of thing at the Factory Social Center. That school was very small, you were very protected. It was a very protected environment. So we went there. I went there, and then I later went to the Bastille Junior High School and the Bastille High School, Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, etc., etc.
The journey continues.
When I was younger, my mother is very much into music. She sings, she plays instruments, she's a choir director. So we were, I don't want to say forced into, but we were pushed into music at a very early age. My extracurricular activities were choir practice, piano class. I am trained in the piano.
Wow.
I went to piano
lessons. I didn't know this. All this year I didn't know you played the piano.
I went to piano lessons with Pamela Wall. Many people went to Pamela Wall, and she also taught us in school for choir as well. We did the young carolers around Christmas time where we would go around the island caroling and that kind of thing. The St. George's Anglican Church concert that she put on, we performed in that every single year. So that's what, I'm not a singer, but I could hold a tune enough to be in a choir. And that's basically what my childhood was about in terms of passion. I had a passion for anything artistic. I love to draw. I love to paint. I did kite making class at the Venezuelan Institute. I did, so anything like that, that's what I was really interested in. Don't think I was too much interested in the choir, but I was sent, I went. But the art, that's where my focus was.
Now, Even while you were doing the arts, was there anything, a standout thing for you that said, well, I love the arts, but this in particular I love the most?
I love to paint. I still paint.
Oh,
Many people don't know that either.
wow.
But I still paint. I loved to paint. I love to draw as well. I love abstract art because I feel like anything you conjure up in your mind can become art. Factory School was also instrumental in helping us to learn a lot about, art from the past, the greats.
Right.
We learned about, we had a subject called picture study, and we learned to critique art. We learned about colors and how colors were used to form different techniques and that sort of thing. So we were exposed to a lot at an early age.
Right. And do you still play the piano?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So you still have it. You haven't lost it.
I can read music.
Oh, well.
I think I was mainly focused on the theory of it. So I can read music, I can play a little, but enough to teach my daughter and show my daughter and my nephew a few things here and there. But no, I as I said, that was not my passion.
Right.
I went because I was sent. And, it was not, I enjoyed it. We had some of my fondest childhood memories were at Miss Wall's residence in her yard. She had a huge yard. We played cricket, we climbed trees. We were able to do all of that. So I enjoyed that, but I ain't going to play no piano.
Well, your passion was art. Your passion was drawing and painting. Well, I didn't know that about you either. I didn't know. You see, woman of many talents, So you went to George Moody, you went to high school, and then you moved on to college. What did you want to be growing up?
I wanted to be a teacher. My mother is an educator. She was always a teacher when I was growing up. She taught at Bastia High School, and George Moody finished at 3 in the afternoon, and regular school finishes at 3:30. So she would pick us up and she would have us in the school until, whenever, because sometimes she had extra classes as well. So that is all I saw, and that's what I basically wanted to do. I actually wanted to teach art. I never taught art. I taught English. I taught literature.
Well, closest to it.
Yeah. And I taught Spanish to, the basic Spanish as well.
Right.
So that's what I wanted
and that's what
set out to do.
And so you started out, so after you left college, you started out in teaching. And where did you teach?
The first school I taught at was the Bastia High School. That was kind of uncomfortable. It was kind of challenging. No, because we didn't have washi back then.
Right.
We had Bastia Junior High. You go for 2 years, and then you would go to Bastia High School. So I left Bastia High School, went to the CFBC, and then I was placed back at Bastia High School. So, the people who taught me were now my colleagues. So it was, as I said, it was a challenge, but, I later moved from there and I went back to school so I could become trained in education.
Are you tired of Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? The Cable has the ultimate solution with our whole home Wi-Fi coverage. Say goodbye to frustrating signal drops and hello to seamless connectivity in every corner of your home. No more
Mom, my tablet's not working in my bedroom. My game is freezing, Daddy.
Or WhatsApp calls dropping as you walk around the house. So many people struggle with dead zones and restricted Wi-Fi, and the Cable has the answer. Enjoy full blanket increased Wi-Fi coverage with installation in 48 hours or less. Whole home Wi-Fi coverage is here. Get the whole family connected today. Come in or call the Cable at 465-2588 to get your whole home Wi-Fi boost installed. The Cable, always giving you more. Terms and conditions apply.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Good day to the beautiful people of St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Martin News Desk now airs on
Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays on TVC
at 11 a.m. and then again at 5 p.m. So
make sure to tune in.
Welcome back to Insights. I'm Andre Huey. This is a special edition of the show where we're giving you the top 3 highlights of Insights for the year 2024, this being our first show for the year 2025. Now, just before the break, we shared with you the interview we had, a snippet of the interview we had with Jamila McPhail of Freedom FM. Now we're going to go to the number 2 interview, and this one was also very engaging, very enlightening for me and for our viewers. Clelia Davis, a young lady from St. Kitts and Nevis, a young scientist, I may say, who's doing amazing things, not only in the sciences, but also in the arts. Here's a little bit of that interview we had with Clelia Davis on April 1st, 2024.
So after my tenure at CFBC, I did an associate's in environmental science. I went to the University of the Virgin Islands about a year and a half after. I did a short stint here at the JNF Hospital, and I did my bachelor's in biology. So while there, because I was an international student, I wasn't able to be a part of a lot of, whether it's research-based or like some of the internships, like medical internships, because of my immigration status.
In UVI.
In UVI, yeah, because it's I'm a US-based school, so you would have had to be either a permanent resident or a citizen of the States, right? So that wasn't good enough for me, because I felt like going to classes, I wasn't going to be able to get what I needed from the whole, college experience. So I said to myself, no, you have to create an avenue. Like, this is just a stumbling block. How are you going to maneuver past this? So ultimately, I was able to create a research project. And I'm always, no matter how many times I talk about this, I always stress how thankful I am to my past mentor, Dr. Yakini Brandy. She's actually a Nivision. Yes, she's
at the UVI.
Well, she doesn't work at UVI anymore. I think she's at a university in the States. I can't remember which one right now. But she was my mentor. She's an organic chemist. And based on the project that I wanted to work on, she was a perfect person. So basically, it was utilizing a metabolite or a chemical from lemongrass that would have had some sort of potential anti-sickling effect in sickle cell disease, which we know, ravages the person specifically of African descent. A lot of us in the Caribbean are sickle cell trait holders and we don't know. A lot of people do have sickle cell and they don't know the full-blown disease. So for me, it was very intriguing when I found out in one of my biology classes that there are some plants that can potentially have treatment options for this disease, because I know sickle cell is a genetic disease, right? So I delved into that, and that is how everything sparked. So now I am actually a medical scientist. So my research experience and training would have started from that project, and everything was just a domino effect. We completed that. I, produced it at different conferences, was able to actually win a prize. And that led now to another research opportunity, and so on and so forth.
Wow, so you just blossom and
and because of that, when you probably would have attended a US school, you can go on to do your PhD, especially in the US system. So I was checking out schools. I went to UCLA, I went to Emory University in Atlanta, and a couple more. When I was at Emory, one of the professors I didn't actually go to see him. I went to speak to the chair of the program, and he said, based on your research, I'm going to relay you to this expert in sickle cell. I spoke to him. I had some of my CVs present with me, so I showed him, and he's like, I want you to work at my lab. I'll get you an NIH grant. I said, what?
Just like that.
Just like that. Are you kidding me? So it was amazing. But then, this is the kicker. I couldn't. because I'm an international student.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'll call the NIH and ask them, which is the National Institutes of Health, a federal organization within the United States. And then, you know, he called and it just wasn't possible because how am I going to benefit from taxpayers' dollars if
you're not a citizen or
right?
a resident? Yeah.
So that was unfortunate, but I said, you know, maybe it's not my time to be there as yet. But just the fact that showing up and having the little experience at that time would have allowed me to have such an opportunity was gratifying in itself. And like I said, that just bounced off, and then I came back home. I started teaching at the college here. And then I said, no, I can't just be stuck. I feel like I have more to learn, because for me, like, I feel like I'm a lifetime learner in order to be especially a good teacher, right? And so that's where Taiwan came in, because it's a scholarship. I didn't want another student loan. And I said, okay, let's check to see if I could do my master's. I did, and I completed my master's in medicine, which that's the name of it, but it's a medical research degree, basically. So I did research in cancer biology, specifically diagnostics for breast cancer. We were looking at certain biomarkers to tell from liquid biopsies, which is essentially, it could be blood, it could be urine, different liquids from the body. And we are able to identify certain biomarkers that can tell us, okay, you do have cancer, maybe this is the stage, X, Y, and Z. So that's some of the work that I was previously working on. And it's great because outside of a tissue biopsy, which is much more invasive, it's much more costly, if we're able to do a blood draw and I'm able to tell you, okay, yes, you have cancer, this is the recurrence of it, X, Y, and Z. That's where the research is going now, and we want to be able to translate that basic research into the clinic. So it's exciting. It was a lot of hard work in Taiwan for sure.
I could imagine.
Yeah, and also, like, I worked while I was in Taiwan. I was teaching English. That was a task.
Because you spoke Mandarin, so you had to speak Mandarin in order.
Yes. So for my
that was English as a second language, or just English?
English as a second language. Yeah.
Are you tired of Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? The Cable has the ultimate solution with our whole home Wi-Fi coverage. Say goodbye to frustrating signal drops and hello to seamless connectivity in every corner of your home. No more
Mom, my tablet's not working in my bedroom. My game is freezing, Daddy.
or WhatsApp calls dropping as you walk around the house. So many people struggle with dead zones and restricted Wi-Fi, and the Cable has the answer. Enjoy full blanket increased Wi-Fi coverage with installation in 48 hours or less. Whole home Wi-Fi coverage is here. Get the whole family connected today. Come in or call the Cable at 465-2588 to get your whole home Wi-Fi boost installed. The Cable, always giving you more. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Insights. This is our final segment of the show. This is a special edition of the show. We're sharing with you the top 3 highlights of the year, the top 3 interviews we had for 2024. Now, let me just say this again. We're not saying that these interviews were better than all the other interviews we had, but these were some amongst the iconic ones that we had. And of course, we can't spend the entire show recapping all the interviews that we had for 2024. We just decided to pick 3, and these are my pick for the 3 interviews that we had. Now, this one certainly was a really, really good one. It actually was recorded in 2023, but aired on December 30th, on January 30th, I beg your pardon, 2024. It was a 2-part interview. To date, this is the first 2-part interview guest that we've ever had on Insights, and it was certainly worth it. It is Ambassador Roslyn Hazel. We had a very interesting discussion. She spoke about her life, growing up in Parsons, and eventually becoming the person she was, the ambassador here in St. Kitts Nevis, and working for government, and also creating the Gender Affairs Department back in the mid-1990s. Here is a snippet of the interview we had with Miss Roslyn Hazel, where she described how she came about creating the Department of Gender Affairs and the good work they did over the years.
I would pick the legacy of having worked to have teen mothers return to school, I was a teen mother, but had an opportunity that Canada afforded me, that St. Kitts would not have afforded me. And I started to work in looking at and dealing with the women in the industrial estate. And I found that there were a lot of them who had a number of GCEs, because that was part and parcel of what it was, not CXC then, but some with CXCs as well. And I kind of like, you know, this is ridiculous. Teachers are standing in front of a classroom and saying to students, oh, well, you play, you will end up at the industrial estate. And I felt, well, hey, hello. No, you can't do that, because there are women at industrial estate who are there because they didn't maybe have the opportunity that you may have, but there's some of them maybe with more certificates and more subjects than you are. So I started to look at the whole idea of the discrimination that said that a child, for me, a child is a child, whether that child happens to have given birth to a child or not. And our Education Act said that you're supposed to be in school from 5 to 16. There was no provision in there that says unless you get pregnant. And so why is it subjected to the fact that you're re-victimizing a victim because, or I don't like to call it unlawful calling knowledge. I call it the statutory rape situation is that at age 16 you're not old enough to give consent, and so if you are not old enough to give consent, someone broke a law, but I didn't see that person in jail. But you are now going to be forced. You're re-victimizing a victim, and while at the same time we're talking about poverty, we're talking about enabling people to be able to take care of themselves. But in education, it was already established, in my opinion, through Mr. Bradshaw, with the whole idea of every child should have a seat in a secondary school, that there was already a recognition in the country that education was a pathway to the way that one is being able to take care of oneself. And if you deny that person, you're setting that person up for further abuse, more children, etc., because she can't take off the one that she has right now, etc. So I set about to look at that policy and to fight. I remember the PS for education at the time said, we're working for the same government. I said, yeah, we are, but we're not working for the same department. And so you're working for education and I'm working for women's affairs, and over at my end there is something that says equal justice, fair play, etc. And even your own end, you're breaking your law. And I remember he said, how am I breaking my law? And he says, show me in the Education Act where it says that if a child gets pregnant at 16, the law that says that that child must be in school from 5 to 16 changes. But it's not there. Exactly, sir, it is not there. Of course, we had signed the Convention on the Rights of the Child under the PAM administration. We had also, under the PAM administration, signed the UN CEDAW Convention, which speaks to eliminating discrimination against women in all its forms. And we had also signed an OAS convention that spoke to the issue of violence. And so I set about to use those three documents to reach out to mainly UNICEF, being that it's the agency within the UN that deals with children's issues. And we had a seminar that spoke to the discriminatory part. The discriminatory part comes where I'm a teenager, you're a teenager. You impregnated me, but because I'm the one to carry the belly, as I would say, I get kicked out of school, but you can remain in school and impregnate any more girls that you want to, and your education wasn't disrupted. What's more discriminatory than that? Yeah. So the cabinet told me, well, before we make a decision, we want you to go to Goldwing Canes. Had a show, I think it was Tuesday nights, and talk about this, see what the population says. And I was like, you guys are kidding me, right? No, okay. So I went, and Goldwyn was like biting off at the bits to get into this discussion as to why you're putting yourself out there with all of this. And it became really interesting because by Monday or Tuesday, somebody would say, oh, by the way, my minister talked about you on church on Sunday. Oh, by the way, and so on. Because it was like I was committing a carnal sin. Because in their opinion, I wanted to put women back into a classroom with children as if the only persons who got pregnant were those who were having sex. And I knew that there were lots of other children who were having sex. So the issue wasn't that these children were the only ones. There were other people, but these children happened, unfortunately, to have become pregnant. And so we got 27 calls for the period of that show. 25 people said, now that I've heard you generally, different people said different things, I understand what you're saying. I think they should go back to school. They should be allowed to go back to school.
So when we had the chance to explain, people were more accepted.
Exactly. One gentleman called in and he said, I agree with you. I think they should go back to school, but I think you should put them in a different school. And I'm like, why would you want, that's just another way of continuing the victimization. Because if I'm going to school in a different uniform, we all know, we look at children and we know what school they're going based on, so why would I want to have children who are teen mothers being able to be identified, to be abused even further, to be belittled, etc. No, they need to go back into the regular school system. And then one lady ironically called and said, well, I don't think they should go back. Okay, why? Because I was a teen mother and nobody helped me. So why should you come along to be helping anybody else? And those were basically the 27 calls that we have. And so based on that and based on the fact that we had come out of the UNICEF-sponsored conference with 2 resolutions, we went back to the government. By then, Mr. Herbert was the Minister of Education, and he's always been my favorite minister. He was very fair. He looked at it, he asked me a couple of questions, etc., and he said, okay, if we get a cabinet submission, I will take it to cabinet. And so it was taken to cabinet. Cabinet decided yes, they would be allowed to go back to school. They had to behave like any other child, which is fine. That's what the whole idea is. They were children, and that they're supposed to be treated the same way that you would treat other children, etc. And we've had quite a bit of success.
That's a segment there from our interview with Rosalyn Hazel. Ambassador Rosalyn Hazel was our second guest on Insights. Well, that's how we end this edition of Insights for this week. Again, we want to thank you so much for your support in 2024, and we look forward to your continued support in 2025 and beyond. I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching Insights, and stay tuned to TVC Channel 40, Television Caribbean. If you're watching on tvcplus.live, we welcome you as well. Keep watching.